I personally think that innovation has become an abused word, one of those buzzwords that everyone likes to include, even if it is only to change a product from blue to red or to have a new website offering. What is true holistic innovation that can be realistically implemented and growth achieved? What's the right approach? What's the right thinking? To get answers, I felt I needed to chat to someone who's not only done it and been there, but also written the curiously titled book, Lay an Egg and Make Chicken Soup, the holistic innovation approach from concept to market expansion. So welcome, Arie Brish, welcome.
Thank you. Good to have you. Nice to meet you, Malcolm.
Yeah, and same here. Now we are socially distanced because you are in Austin, Texas, aren't you?
Yeah,
Today?
I'm in Austin, Texas, so no need for mask. We are safe.
No, yeah. And I'm in the northeast of England, but it's lovely to talk to you. Now, Aria, I'm not wasting any time here. I'm going straight in. Tell us about your book and what the title of it means.
Okay, so the book is about commercializing innovation. If you Google for books in the innovation space, most of the books are focusing on how to come up with a good idea or innovative idea, and how to raise money for your idea, but that's where most of them stop. But if you follow statistics of why businesses fail, they usually fail because of bad execution, not because of a bad idea.
Yeah.
So, I learned it the hard way, and after so many years, I started to write about it. And the book is, most of the book, 80% of the book talks about how to execute commercializing innovation. It does have one chapter about how to innovate, one chapter about how to raise money for it, and then the remaining of the book is about how to execute. So at the end of the journey, you and your investors will make money out of the project.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I'm totally with you on the execution. I mean, I've heard the figures bandied around that 90% of innovation and strategy never gets executed. It's a waste, isn't it? Now, I said in my opening piece that I feel that innovation is becoming an abused word. Everybody throwing it in. What's your thoughts here?
Yes, correct. Actually, you are correct about this observation. Things, if you follow business or history or politics, things don't change that much from a generic point of view. The buzzwords change. Okay. Yeah. So every 10, 20 years, a new generation comes with a new buzzword for the same thing. And by the way, in the book, I take many of my examples in the book are older examples from 100 years, 500 years back, and I apply them to modern world, and I show how there is a lesson learned, even if your new business is a mobile app on a smartphone. And I give an example of, I don't know, the Gutenberg printing machine. And if you look at the generic business challenges, they're pretty similar. So I do take all the examples as a lesson learned for new businesses. And I go back to your question. Innovation, at least in the past 10, 20, 30 years, innovation is perceived as a technology, but the fact it's not necessarily technology. Actually, many successful companies today are not technology companies. One of the examples, one of my favorite examples, Domino Pizza. You have Domino Pizza in the UK, right?
Yeah.
So Domino Pizza went public about the same time as Google. Google is considered the wonder child of Silicon Valley, or one of them. Domino's Pizza stock did 2 times better than Google. So if you invested £1 in Domino Pizza and £1 in Google back in the days when they went public, you did with Domino Pizza, you did 2 times better than with the Google share you had. So that's just a lesson learned that you don't have to innovate in the technology. You can innovate in the business concept. In the case of Domino Pizza, is in the customer service. They were the first time that came. They were the first ones that came with a innovative idea, using the same word, of delivering the pizza to your house. At the beginning, it was calling by phone, and later ordering with the internet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so they depend on technology, yes, but they did not invent the internet. They just use the internet to make the orders. Same thing with Uber, by the way. Uber did not, they call themselves Uber technology, but they did not invent any new technology. They use GPS and credit cards and internet to provide a new transportation service. So their innovation is in the concept, not in the technology. They did not invent any new technology.
Well, let's just follow on from that then, because everyone seeks to define innovation, which is only understandable. I think it's about disrupting beliefs. What's your definition?
Right. Yes, absolutely. So innovation is about doing something different. Okay, you brought the examples of, taking a blue product and make a yellow version of it. That's also an innovation, and I'll give you a real life example. Back in the days, you have gray hair as much as I do. I don't have that much, but back in the days, in the 1980s, 1990s, if you remember, cell phones were usually black.
Yeah.
And the competition was in the technology side, how much battery life, how much talk time you have, how many names you can put in a memory, whether it's 20 names or 30 names or whatever. Nokia came with a concept. Nokia realized that cell phone becoming an accessory for teenagers. So they came up with color options. You can choose a yellow phone or a pink phone or a blue phone. And they did so well with just offering color option to the cell phone. And that's a innovation in the color choices of the cell phones. And I used to work for Motorola at the time. All the traditional cell phone providers, even though it was very easy to change the color of the telephone, but they did not even follow Nokia. They thought it's like an insult to compete with this high-tech product with the color of the box. But Nokia did very well on innovating that optional color.
Yeah, I remember that once for a number of years, I had one of those big phones, like a brick,
Yeah,
and
right, yes.
everybody was excited when all the new little Motorola flip phones came in, except the farmers where I live here in England, because they used to use the phone to hammer a nail into the fence. So innovation's not good for everybody. Look, I've constantly experienced that the problem of executing innovation is the need for good change leadership. Everyone votes for change, but nobody votes for doing it. Does innovation really demand change? And if so, what is good change leadership?
Well, by definition, the word innovation is about doing something different, which means changing something, right? So the simple answer, yes, any innovation requires change and change leadership. The word leadership here is very important from two aspects. One is obviously coming up with a new product. That's leadership. Coming up with a new concept, I would say, that's leadership. The other thing is being able, what's leadership? Being able to make people follow you. So part of the success of any new concept or new service or new product is convincing the world that this is something viable that they need to try and use, right? So there is an element of leadership in marketing a new paradigm or new change or a new product, both leadership from the new supplier point or the supplier point of view, and also leadership in the customer front. And if you think about it, let's say the easy way to describe the world is B2C, business to consumer, or B2B, business to business. So in the business to consumer, in most cases, the early adopters are individuals that enjoy or like to lead a new trend. That's leadership. So if people stand in line, all night long to get a new cell phone, it doesn't help them, right? Because there are a few more features there, but I mean, I wouldn't spend the whole night just for a few more features. I'll wait 3 months and walk to the store and buy it. But people, it gives them satisfaction to be the first one in the office to have this new model.
Yeah,
and
we call it bragging rights in the UK.
Yeah, right. So I think I have a whole chapter in the book about emotional decision making. They spend the whole night for emotional reasons or bragging reasons, as you said. So that's in the you can think about it as a way of leadership. They'll be the first one in the office to have this model. They will brag about it, as you say, and then everybody else in the office in the next few months will buy this cell phone. So this new model. So everybody, the supplier, whether it's Apple or Samsung, they base their success on this few leaders that likes to brag on having the latest and greatest model. So this is the B2C.
Yeah. But those people are actually doing their marketing for them, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
To gain traction quickly.
Exactly.
You've been involved in some mind-boggling scale-up achievement in businesses. What, in your view, are the 3 or 4 essentials for achieving scale-up goals?
I tend to. So let me take a step back. In any case or any product, there is an ecosystem around it. It's not just supplier and customer. There is government regulations. There is universities. There is all kinds of ecosystem stakeholders. So a big part of the success is to recruit all the stakeholders to support the new product or the new service or the new concept, and that helps accelerate the adoption. In many cases, you must have the government, regulation to support your new product. In some case, for example, in medicine, you cannot succeed if you don't have the government approve your new product. This is just an extreme example. If you have let's say in the food industry, you need every country is different, but you need a government stamp of approval that your food, the food item that you invented is safe to consume, right? So some other ways to promote, get celebrities endorse the product, or get, if it's a high tech product or sophisticated product, as a university professor endorse the product. So all of these are ecosystem support that helps, the product acceleration. So that's from a marketing adoption. From the supply chain point of view, you have to make sure that you build the supply chain and have the money to feed it, because if let's say you come again a new telephone and there is 1 million people in the world wants to buy it next week, you need to start building it 3 to 6 months ago. So you need the cash flow. A large company has deep enough pockets to build it on their own dime. But if the innovation comes from a startup company, one of the challenges is to finance the buildup of the inventory in anticipation of successful marketing launch. and you have to spend $1 million today to sell this product 3 to 6 months from now. So that gives you a cash flow challenges that you have to look after.
Yeah, it's a very, very relevant point, and particularly as supply chains are getting stretched at the moment with the pandemic, isn't it?
Yes, right.
Just before we move on to the next question, I just want to remind viewers that on the screen behind me, you can find your URL, your website, to go and find out more details about you and, of course, about your book. Now, what concerns you about today's business leaders? Are they generally well positioned to surf the waves of change we're continue experiencing, or do you think fundamental changes will be needed in, say, the next 5 years? And if so, where?
Good question. So in many cases, the innovation comes from young people, and it's very natural. Young people are not boxed in okay, that's the way we've done it for 50 years. That's the way it's going to be in the next 50 years. So the new ideas are usually coming from the young people. The negative side of the coin is the young people being young, they don't have the experience about how to execute well. So I think the most successful innovation at any given time will require a mix of experienced execution people and people that are innovative. For example, Michael Dell, when he started his company, Dell Computer, he was in his 20s and he realized he didn't have the experience to execute. So his entire vice president, they all were 20 to 30 years older than him. So that's an example of how you can overcome the lack of experience. Other companies take senior people as advisors for the same purpose. Okay, so the execution team is all young and creative people, but then they have handful of advisors with experience. There is another client of mine actually based in the UK that we have a mix of almost all ages you can think about. The youngest person in the team is in 22, I think, and the oldest person in the team in his 60s, and you have people in all age groups. We are in 3 or 4 locations in Texas, in New York, in the UK in 2 locations, and then Netherlands. So we are diverse in the locations, and that brings also good diversity of thinking. We always talk about, okay, what's the legal system in the US to support this product or to be an obstacle, or what's the legal system in the UK, what's the legal system in Europe, and we have diversity like half and half from a gender point of view, and we talked about the age diversity. So when you have a diverse team like that, you tend to, people bring all kinds of angles. And one of the case studies in the book, I show a couple of researchers from the academia that diverse teams are doing around 50 to 60% better results than homogeneous team. So it's easy to start a business with your sibling or your best friend from college, but you think too much alike, and you don't have the diversity of opinions and backgrounds to debate and discuss different options and what have you. And at the beginning, in the 1980s and 1990s, diversity was more social justice driven, but now there is enough research to show that diversity also contributes to better results. It takes more time to make a decision because everybody has to voice their opinions and you discuss it. But then once you judge all the pros and cons of whatever issue you discuss, you come to the right decision that takes into account all the risks and all the issues.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. That one of our sister channels here on our PVTV that I present is called the Conscious Business Show, and consciousness with diversity and inclusion is very much to the fore here and around the world. Now, I want you to assume that a CEO or MD is watching this, and remember, we go around the world with our distribution, and he says, "Innovation, that's what I need. Go get Arie. What's your essential approach, your workflow to helping such a business achieve its innovation desires?" And I'm talking about authentic innovation.
Okay, so there are two sides to this equation. By the way, the simple thing I define as successful innovation: innovation equals good idea, time, good execution.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not enough to have a good idea. You have to, it has to go with good execution. So thank you for putting my website. On the website, I have a checklist. You can download the checklist that tells you, okay, like there is 20 or 30 items there. Look for this, look for this, look for this. Make sure you plan for each one of these items. In some businesses, only 5 out of the 20 will be a major issue, but you know, if you don't think about all these 20, and you may stumble on something you didn't expect. So this checklist is basically a one-page summary of the book, so to speak. The book adds some life to the checklist because for each item it has 2 or 3 different case study stories, by the way, from different industries. So one other thing I realized over my career, you can learn horizontally from different industry. If you're a hotel and you have some, I don't know, logistical issue, you can learn. Maybe an airline had a similar issue 10 years ago, or a hospital or whatever. So don't focus just on your industry. Go and across industries and try to learn from other industries' experiences. So the book is diverse. Speaking about diversity, it's diverse as far as industries, it's diverse as far as different times. Okay, purposely done so you can learn from all these different examples how you can apply this lesson learned to your own business or your own industry.
I'm glad you said that, because I think too few CEOs or C-suites look outside their industry to find innovation and
Exactly.
ideas. It's almost incestuous, isn't it, the way that they go forward? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, I like to give all my guests 3 wishes. If I were to give you 3 wishes for the understanding of the value and execution of innovation in the business workplace, what would those 3 wishes be?
Okay, we kind of touched on all of them. So it's not wishes for myself. It's more about wishes for other people to be successful. One is go to my website and take the free checklist. So you know, if you have a new idea could be a new hair salon or a new app for a smartphone. There is a checklist on the checklist is generic. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a new restaurant or a new airline service or whatever it is. There is a checklist of what you need to look for in the execution. So this is one thing. And make sure that you address all these blind spots, especially the ones that looks too challenging. I mean, those are the ones that will bite you if you don't pay attention to them. The other thing I find out in many startup businesses is they tend to have a very narrow view of what competition means. Okay, so they will invent something, and if they're the only ones that invented XYZ, they think, okay, I don't have any competition. But competition can come with other alternative products or alternative services that solve the same problem. A train and a airline and your personal car are all competition because they take you from point X to point Y. But also a video conference call is a competition to an airline because 20 years ago, I had to fly to meet you to have this interview.
Yeah.
Right? So video Zoom is a competition to an airline in a sense. So don't look at competition in a too narrow way. The third thing is what we discussed again before, is the diversity, especially on the theme of the book, is innovation equals idea times execution. Have at least the two elements in your team, people that are creative with a new idea and people that know how to execute well once you agree that this is the idea we're going to execute on.
Arie Brish, author of the, as I say, curiously titled, but you can't never forget it, Lay an Egg and Make Chicken Soup, the holistic innovation process from concept to market expansion. I've thoroughly enjoyed having a chat about innovation with you. Thank you for the interview.
Thanks for having me.